I have a huge problem with what Ed Reed said. Why is it that every time a former NFL player comes to coach these HBCUs, they always have some ignorant, misinformed blueprint to how HBCUs are where they are today?
That building right there got trash in it. It's f***ing trash. What are you talking about? Need no goddamn donors to come out and help out because people just want money.
And we as a people need to stop giving in to these celebrity savior complexes when they come to our schools, because they become the voice by default. And what makes this an issue is when they give out their viewpoints, it's so ignorant and it's so shortcoming that you could hear it in their conversation. They always miss the fact that HBCUs as a whole is underfunded by at least 13 billion. But they're not going to research that. They're always going to use the same regular cop-out and blame black people as a whole. Are there problems institutionally that we as a people could fix within HBCUs? Of course, there's always room for improvement. But when these newcomers come in thinking they know everything there is to know about it, they say the most dumbest stuff ever. Ed Reed is the best example of this. When he hopped on IG Live earlier today, he said a lot of comments about Bethune-Cookman's campus, how it looked trashy, how the office wasn't prepared for him as he arrived. You're crossing a very thin line when you talk about Bethune-Cookman's campus, because you're talking about an institution that got hit by a hurricane 2 times within the past few months. And we already know what happened with Katrina about federal aid. They're going to take their sweet time to come over there and clean that school up. But yeah, you're making fun of the institution for not doing it themselves when that takes a whole lot of work realistically. On top of that, you're talking about an institution like Bethune-Cookman who nearly closed down in 2018 due to financial audits because they had to borrow millions of dollars from the government because they were heavily underfunded anyway. They were about to close down with an interim president leading the way. And by God's grace, they're still here today. You came into Bethune-Cookman with the main goal to improve the school's image. Well, by the past 24 hours, you did nothing but ruin it. And realistically, I'm not dogging Ed Reed for the stuff that he said. I'm just worried about the delivery and the image that you're bringing on to Bethune. Because we all know as a player that you were extremely outspoken and you're passionate. We need that passion in the HBCUs too, but we need that passion to be productive. Blame the source as to why HBCUs are what they are today. Don't just blame the black man and generalize all HBCUs as to why they're stuck in the situation they are today. The reality is you need to call out the federal government. You need to call out these state legislators and leaders that refuse to even give us the exposure to have more donations coming in. Yes, you could say the alumni could donate back, but be completely real. For as many black millionaires that we have, we're still in the bottom 1%. And the black millionaires we have right now, they refuse to give back. But shout out to the very few ones that do, such as Michael Strahan at Texas Southern, because he's done a lot for the school. The main issue that we have to deal with is that we have to rely on regular people to be our donors. Whereas you have guys like Kentucky or University of Texas, their alumni donate so much money that they have enough to buy the coach's contract out. We don't have that luxury. And people have to understand, once you decide to become an HBCU head coach, it's going to require some sacrifice, because when you look at the dotted line, you realize that you're not going to have as close as many resources as you would expect to have. That's why you have to create those opportunities. And what's worse about this is that people from the outside looking in are going to use your viewpoint and run with it. Because like I said before, you're a Hall of Famer, one of the best DBs that we had in our generation. Your opinion holds weight. So when people view this, they're going to think all HBCUs are trashy and unprofessional, which is definitely not the case. Because of this, you're going to have a whole bunch of cats on social media that goes to PWIs, have all the opinions in the world about HBCUs, but never even step foot on campus once. Providing a real spotlight to HBCUs consists of a lot of things, such as showing off the student body, showing off hump days, the band, the after-school student programs, hell, even the women. Anything that you could use that as a positive light to give kids an example of what an HBCU experience looked like. Because imagine somebody in Florida looking at Ed Reed's Instagram Live and thinking, oh wow, Bethune-Cookman's so crappy, I don't want to play for an HBCU. They could easily think like that. Because what do you think they've been thinking for decades and decades? That's why it's so easy to appreciate coaches like Hugh Jackson at Grambling State or Coach Eddie George at Tennessee State, because all they simply want to do is coach a football team and bring real change to HBCUs behind the scenes. They don't need to do all that talking in order to prop themselves up. They let the work speak for themselves. And we got to get behind coaches like that, because a lot of ex-NFL players coming into HBCUs, they use those schools as a stepping stone. And let's be real, they're not planning to stay for a while in order to bring real change to their institutions. They want to use this as a stepping stone for that big Power 5 job that's waiting for them in the future. And to our expense, we get used half the time. And it seemed like these guys really take away from HBCUs instead of empowering it to where it should be. Moral of the story is, if you're gonna come coach at a HBCU and you haven't even done a lick of research yet, it's best to just shut up and coach.